I'd like to talk about something that is bothering a lot of men. He is very depressed. He is in such a dark state of mind. My life is copy and paste. You wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep. You wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep. Men don't talk about their mental health often at all. And welcome back to Gallagher's Grip. This is Daniel Gallagher, your host. And ladies and gentlemen, this podcast here, I'd like to talk about something that is bothering a lot of men. It's a big problem here in the United States of America. And this all stemmed from me having a conversation with one of my closest friends the other day when we were talking nonchalantly, and he actually said that he is in such a dark state of mind. He is very depressed, and he went on record with me, because most men don't talk about this, but he actually openly said that his mental health is in the worst state ever. And I said, well, why is that? Why do you think your mental health is in the worst state ever? And he said, I feel like my life is a copy and paste, almost like the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you go to sleep. You wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep. And it's the same routine day in and day out. Now throw all the extracurricular activities on top of that, with children, with wives, with husbands, etc. I mean, it's a lot. Life is a lot. It's very difficult. But it got me to thinking, the conversation that I had with this guy, he would never tell me, or anybody for that matter, that he was truly going through some dark times in his life. And it got me to thinking, men don't talk about their mental health often at all. A man, in the eyes of society, is supposed to be a warrior of some kind, supposed to be a fighter, supposed to be a non-crier, supposed to be dealing with all of the pains and sorrows that this world throws on top of his shoulders, and wake up every single morning with a smile, with a cup of coffee, and be nothing but happy. Well, the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention is a website I found myself researching after this conversation, and I found some interesting statistics, and once again find myself talking about men's mental health. And if you follow me, you'll see that I've been on multiple podcasts in regards to men's mental health, and I'm a huge advocate of making sure we do something to get in front of a terrible decision that a man could make to end his life because things are not going the way that he wants them to go. And I believe that we have a hotline, right? We've got a suicide prevention hotline that is available for anybody to call, to talk to some stranger, to tell some stranger what's actually going on and what you're thinking and why. And that's a great thing. I think that's a really, really, really great thing to have. But there are so many instances where a person needs that a person right now, and I think it's up to the American people, the American public, to actually listen and watch and understand and make sure that the one that you're with, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or your friend, is okay. And I think one of the things that we have to do is start to listen a little bit more and ask a couple more questions about, hey, are you okay? Are you sure you don't need me? Are you sure you don't need any help? What's going on? Explain to me, what the issue is with you. I want to know. I think it's up to us, the people of this country, to actually get in front of somebody feeling that way and being the wall that they need to make sure that they don't jump over it. Let me give you some interesting statistics here. It's this very, very, very sad scenario. The day where the most suicides actually occur for men is New Year's Day. New Year's Day, approximately 75 to 80% of suicides occur on New Year's Day, believe it or not, coming from the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention Program. 1.6 million attempts take place in the United States every year. They take place. They don't happen. People try to commit suicide and it doesn't happen. However, statistically, we have got 13.8 suicides per 100,000 people in the United States of America. When I continued reading the data and the stats, I was blown away when I actually read that every single day in the United States of America, we have on average 18 veterans die by suicide every single day. Now, what's interesting to me is that most of these are white males. I don't know why. Why commit suicide in the first place? Well, I hate to say this, but life seems to be getting so much more difficult, so hard. A man's got so much on his shoulders that it's a huge challenge nowadays. It's a huge challenge nowadays across the board. You know, I wake up in the morning and I get in the shower and I've got my two children on my head thinking, you know what, Daniel, you got to get in that car and you got to get out there and you got to make it happen because you can't fail. You can't fail as a man. Failure is not an option. Yeah, you try a business, you fail at a business, you keep on going. But globally speaking, you can't fail. You have got to make sure that your children are taken care of. You've got to make sure that as a man, you have got to provide for your family, your children. It's your job. And most men take that job very seriously. But every single man has a breaking point, ladies and gentlemen. Every single man has a breaking point. Period. End of story. I got to thinking about veterans. Why? Why are veterans taking their own lives at that rate? And then I started thinking even more. Well, I've got a lot of friends that are police officers that don't like talking about their daily job because it is so terrible what these guys see on a daily basis. You've got police officers, the men in blue, committing suicide because they can't take what they actually see on a daily basis. I'm from Illinois. I couldn't imagine being a Chicago police officer in today's day and age, seeing what those police officers actually see every single day. They have got so much respect for me. It's indescribable. It's indescribable how much respect a police officer has from me and everybody here that works at Gallagher's Grip because they're on the front lines. The veterans, the soldiers are on the front lines. The men are on the front lines. I'm not saying the women are not on the front lines, ladies and gentlemen, but my God, 70 to 80% of suicides are white males. That's a huge statistic. That is a huge number. And you have to take a step back and think about, well, why? Why is that the case for white male men? And, I have a hard time, figuring out the answer, but I can honestly say I was blown away when I read that New Year's Day was the most suicidal day in the United States of America. It's not easy. It's incredibly difficult to be a man. It is. It saddens me to the highest level that any person would commit or think about committing suicide. It is a terrible thing, and it should not happen. The people that are out there right now that are thinking about committing suicide or have those darkest of all thoughts, I want you to stop. I want you to take a step back, and I want you to think about the people who actually care for you. If you have children, I want you to put those children in your eyes. I want you to ingrain their faces in your eyes, and I want you to stop doing what you're thinking about doing, because it is not worth it, and they do need you. No matter what your situation is, divorce, not seeing your kids as much as possible, or as much as you would like to be. Yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios and situations, but life goes on, and I'm not here to preach, folks. I just was kind of taken back when one of my closest friends told me that he was in such a dark state, and I'm thinking, am I overlooking something? Should I be thinking of something, realizing something? And it was it was a little bit of an eye opener for me, and once again, it just got me thinking, how many men out there are just so utterly depressed, but yet when you see them smile. You see them putting on a show. You see them putting on a facade. But deep down inside, it's such a dark deal for them. They're at such a dark place that, you read stories where people will see Johnny or Timmy or Al at the bar having a great old time with their friends, and then all of a sudden the next morning you see them and they took their own life, hanging themselves somewhere. You just never know. And I believe it's up to the American people. I believe it's up to us as people, not as doctors and not as suicide helpliners. We need to make sure that we stay in touch and in tune with the people that we love. We need to make sure that we are all over their scenarios or situations, because, ladies and gentlemen, for all the men that are hearing me right now, I understand why a man doesn't want to share his thoughts. I understand why a man doesn't want to come across to a spouse or a loved one as weak or insecure, because that's just not what we should be doing as a man, right? That's really not what we should be doing. But there comes a time where it's so much weight and so much pressure that, guys, you might want to crack a little bit, and you might want to start talking to some people in your circle. Not just anybody. Pick the right person and talk to the right person that you can share your real thoughts with and get on the same page with, because, isn't it amazing that after you talk to somebody, you feel relieved? Isn't it amazing? You might have these thoughts built up for such a long period of time, and all of a sudden you say how you really feel, and you feel like the weight of the world is off of your shoulders, and your whole life just seems to change. Veterans, police officers, any male man in this country, I beg you, take a step back and think about the positives in your life, because no matter how negative it is, there's always a positive. If you follow me, if you've seen or listened to my story, I've been through hell. I had those thoughts at a point in time, and it was terrible. It was dark. It was darkness all the way around, but I kept going. I kept going, and I kept going. And there were people in my mind that I had ingrained in my mind, and my son was one of them, and I wasn't going to give up for my son. I wasn't going to let anybody else allow me to give up for my son, and I kept on going. Guys, I'm begging you, okay? I'm begging you. If you have those thoughts, if you have those feelings, you need to express that to somebody. Don't get in the car. Don't go out and get hammered at a bar. You need to take a step back and call your mom, call your dad, call your brothers, call someone close to you. Say, look, I'm not doing well, and here's why. And really go over why, and get it out and let them listen to you. You'll feel a million times better. You're going to feel a million times better. But, this particular friend of mine said he's having a hard time saving money. He's working all the time, and he's having a hard time saving money. And he feels like every single day he's working 12-hour days, and when he looks at his bank account, it's just not a continuation of growth. It's staying at a level spot, and I get that. I believe it or not, I do understand that. You find yourself working all the time, but what really threw me is that you know, going through and watching TikTok sometimes, there was a TikTok I saw where it actually says a man dies at the age of 27 to 28, but his life doesn't end until he's in his 70s, 80s, etc. And I thought about that. I really, really, really thought about that. And then I tied that to my friend's comment when he said, Daniel, I don't do anything anymore. I don't even know what I enjoy doing. Everything that I do or have done actually that I enjoyed, I don't even do anymore. And it's like he's right. He's 100% right. Got me to analyzing myself. What do I actually do other than work and being a father, which is a great, great honor. I love my kids. I love my situation. But you take a step back and it's like, well, wait a minute. What do I do anymore that I really love to do? I'm an outdoorsman. I'm a Harley Davidson enthusiast. I like being outside. Folks, let me tell you something. I ride my motorcycle once a year, and it's for a Harley Davidson run for cancer patients because my brother died of stage 4 brain cancer, and I do it once a year to honor him. Why? Because that's all the time I really have. Unfortunately, it truly and genuinely is. Other than that, I'm with my children. I'm coaching. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. We're going everywhere. And, I'm trying to be a good dad for my children, right? But it's so easy to get into a state of depression. It's so easy to let yourself fall into the black hole. And this is just me speaking openly because I speak to a lot of guys that are just in a terrible, terrible state of mind. But this one was a very, very close friend of mine. And it was really bothersome to me. It got me thinking, like I said, and I got these statistics here, and this in and of itself is mind-blowing, but I can tell you that he feels depressed. He said he feels divorced, or not divorced, but people who are depressed and broken and feel like your life is like the Groundhog movie. I understand. I understand where you're coming from, but there is a reality behind men's mental health, and there is a lot of movement about speaking and bringing to light men's mental health. And again, for a man, it's not easy to talk to people about what they're really thinking and what they're really feeling. And men, you know what I'm talking about. But I'll tell you something. You can only take so much, guys. You can only take so much. And hey, I'm just a regular guy, hosting a podcast, right? But you could only take so much in life, and you cannot allow yourself to get to the point to where you have those crazy thoughts. Look, life goes on. We are on this planet for such a short period of time. Heavy drinking, divorce, not seeing your children, not making enough money. The list goes on to put somebody in a state of depression. The strength comes in moving forward. The strength comes in waking up every day and pushing forward. The strength comes in showing your children or showing yourself, you know what? I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to lay down. I'm going to show my kids that I'm a man and I can take this, and I'm going to go out there and do it, and I'm going to do better, and I'm going to be better, and I'm going to provide for them no matter what I have to do, because that's what I want to do as a man. I am not going to consider suicide. I'm not even going to think about suicide anymore. Suicide should be a thing of the past. The American people, your husband, your wife, people, your friends, everybody in this country needs to take a step back and think about the people that they know, because you'll know, sometimes you won't, but you'll know if somebody reaches out to you and says, I'm not doing well, I have an issue, I've got some serious problems going on in my head. You need to jump in and step forward and help them and ask questions. Today's day and age, everybody is so busy. Nobody helps each other. I mean, nobody helps each other. You see somebody on the side of the road with a flat tire, or the car's broken down or the car's smoking. You don't stop anymore these days. Why? Because you're afraid of getting shot. You're afraid of getting mugged. You're afraid of getting kidnapped. You're afraid of getting killed. Because that's where our world has come to. And that is really a shame, because that's a representation of 2025, in my opinion. You got to start to help each other. We have got to start to help each other. We have got to start listening to each other, and we have got to start to be friends with each other again. Really be friends with each other again. I know life gets hectic and everybody's got a million directions to go, but when's the last time you actually sat down and had a real conversation with your husband, a real conversation with your wife? When's the last time you actually made time to have a real conversation with your children? I do. I ask my son all the time, how are you? How are you doing? How was school? Any problems? Any issues whatsoever? Again, there's a lot of reasons why people would consider ending their life, and one of the episodes that's forthcoming here on Gallagher's Grip is bullying. Bullying is a massive, 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 massive problem here in this country. No question about it. And bullying is something that I absolutely do not stand for one split second. If there is somebody who is bullying my kid, I'm at the school in 5 seconds and I will go into attack mode to protect my kid. And parents, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. You try to teach your children the right ways, the right things, but let me put it to you this way. I was bullied by one person in my life, and it was a very constant and consistent situation. And I remember his name. I remember everything about him. Of course, I haven't seen him in forever. That was back when I was in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I will never forget the things that this kid back then said to me. I had glasses on, being called Four Eyes, being called everything under the sun. And let me tell you something, it affected me. It affected me every single day. And I'm not going to get down the path of bullying in much detail because there's a whole podcast forthcoming on that. But you have to be careful. The reason why I bring it up in this podcast is because your child could get so dark that he may not tell you. And yes, the most unfortunate tragedy could happen just because kids are bullying your children. I guess the point here is that it was an eye-opener for me that one of my closest friends said that his mental state is not good. And I never, ever would have thought that would be the case with him. The suicide rate in this country is completely out of control. And what makes me so sad is the actual statistics for veterans. The people who go overseas or the people who enlist to protect this country, the freedom of this country, okay, to make sure that we can wake up and enjoy life. They are so mentally damaged that they are choosing to take their own lives. Same with police officers, same with men at large, because life is not easy. Life is shockingly complicated, and it just seems like it just doesn't get any better. Men, you're listening to me now? Take a step back, take a deep breath, call somebody, talk to somebody, pull over if you have to, make a phone call. Do not end your life because of the situations that this crazy life puts in your world. Do not allow it. Do not allow a lack of money, or do not allow somebody who doesn't love you anymore. Do not allow a financial situation, an IRS situation, a losing your home situation, big things that happen to people in life. Do not allow that to be the caveat that sends you over the edge, so to speak. Don't allow it. Life moves on. Things get better. People love you. People need you. Do not make that decision. A regular guy talking to a regular guy. I was at a Christmas event last Christmas, and I was standing behind a guy, and his back of his shirt actually said, I am so glad that you are here. That's what it said. I'm so glad that you are here. I didn't think anything of it. We're waiting in line to see Santa Claus. And then he turns around and we start talking to each other. He goes, hey, how are you? I said, I'm doing fine. I'm excited here, Christmas time, blah, blah, blah. When the conversation ended, he actually shook my hand and said, I'm happy you're here, brother. I'm happy you're here. Good to know you. I'm happy you're here. Meaning, it was a pleasure meeting you. I'm happy you're here on this planet. I'm happy you're healthy. And the gesture was so genuine that it moved me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody's actually happy I'm here. I mean, you don't wake up and look at your wife or your children, your friends, and say every day, I'm happy you're here. You just don't see that a lot. You don't hear it a lot as a person. And that moved me, and it just it was something I wanted to bring up in today's podcast because I think honestly across the board, men need a little bit more attention. Men need a little bit more love. Men need a little bit more understanding. Men need a little bit more respect across the board, and it is just not easy for a man these days. It's certainly not easy for a woman as well. I get it. I understand it. The reason I'm saying men is because when you read these suicide statistics and you really realize that most of the suicides, at least a gigantic percentage of suicides taking place in this country every year, is men. It's men. Why? What causes that? Why is it men? Is it the extreme pressure that we put on a man on a daily basis? Is that one of the reasons why? What is the real reason? And again, it got me thinking about the reason behind it, and it's a sad situation. And I am going to start to publicize men's mental health across the board. As you know, if you follow me, I'm 100% for men's mental health. I'm behind men's mental health 100% because I too go through roller coasters of craziness, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge. So I finished this solo podcast by saying, men, hang in there. Men, don't do it. Men and women, take a step back and realize that people do love you. You are loved. People need you. People want you. Don't give up. Keep on going. Please keep on going for yourself, for your kids, and for your sake. We need you. We want you here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We actually have a mental health specialist coming on next week. It's going to be a great episode for Gallagher's Grip. I appreciate you tuning in.